players in the team. Keep a great company in the stream.
It's a Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high. We're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy. It's we when man, it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we gon' represent. Go tell a friend.
Pathum, Sri Lanka are absolutely flying. That was one hell of a victory. This is the Murali End. My name's Mark Machado. I'm joined by my cousin across the pond, Dominic Machado. I'm joined by not one, but two former Sri Lanka coaches. Anton Roo, former fielding coach, and making his Murali End debut is Tharindu Pereira, who's just left the women's setup. Tharindu, I'll let you kind of have the first say on it. What a win. What's your kind of emotions? What's your kind of feelings after that today?
I'm really pleased. I think it's a must-win game for us. Made things a lot easier for us to going forward. I think clinical from all departments, I can say, watching the whole game. Obviously, the tough start in the power play, how they went about it, but how we learn from our mistakes, I would say. I think they used the conditions. They were very clever with their tactics to restrict them to probably 20-30 runs short. I think the start they had. And credit to the bowlers and how they came about it. I think Dushan came on the ball pretty well. And obviously second half was fun, wasn't it? Pathum Nissanka again, what a masterclass from him. Unbelievable innings and match-winning innings. That's what we need to see. Not getting started and just finishing the game off. And it was very comfortably at the end. And it was a must-win game for us. I'm so happy for them.
Anton, for me, today was like watching a superhero film, right? It starts off, the invaders turn up at your place and it's absolute chaos. There's skyscrapers falling apart all over the place. And you're like, what's going to happen? Then one of your heroes limps off injured. And then it all kind of clicks into place. And suddenly, before you know it, you get to the end of the film. And the hero of the whole movie has finally found his powers and he's using his sword to just swipe away all that comes before him. It was absolutely incredible. Anton, you've worked with the team. What can you just give us some insight into what Pathum Nissanka is like, what his personality is like, how he would have felt when he dropped that catch, how he got himself back into it, all of that?
All the emotions will be coming to the surface, especially during today's game. Playing against Australia is always a wonderful occasion, let alone at a full packed, buzzing, pumping Pallekele ground. I think we mentioned it just before we came on air. Like, I was there when Pathum broke Sanath's record, and he's just scored 100 tonight against Australia to send them through to the Super 8. So, I mean, if anything, Pathum just wants to play in candy. Just let him. Let's just play everyone at candy. Pathum can bat there, and the game will be done and dusted. But one of the things that really stood out for me, obviously having been there as a fielding coach in the past, was when the stumping was missed and Pathum dropped that catch, I thought, oh no, here we go again. We've led Australia through the back door again type vibe. But the guys just kept hanging in there and catches were taken. Pathum started with that unbelievable catch at backward point. The ground fielding was amazing. And it just shows you, for people and kids that have watched that game, like, you're never out of it, like, hang in there with the field as much as you can, because those small little things can change a game. And you could just sense that the confidence went through the roof once that catch was taken. And no doubt Pathum carried that into his batting innings. And as they say, the rest is history.
Dom, it wasn't just Pathum though, was it? There were so many other great performances today. You got Hamantha with the ball. You got, I feel like Kusal Mendes' innings has already been lost, but 350s on the bats in this tournament is quite an unbelievable stat. Even Pavan Ratnayaka chipped in with the bat. Walalage was fantastic. What did you make of it all?
I think the thing that stands out to me most of all is that they believed. They took that big punch from the two heavy hitters. Travis Ed and Mitch Marsh, and you thought the train is bolted the gate, right? This is 250 on the cards. It's going to be really hard. It's going to mess up the run rate. But guess what? They fought back. Every single player in that team fought back. Injury to Matisha Patirana didn't matter. As you said, Dushan Hemantha was brilliant. I thought he was really, really good with his lines and lengths. He started tossing it up and got hit a bit, and then he figured it out. And he bowled some beautiful, beautiful deliveries. He looked really in rhythm. Pallekele was very, very smart too. And then I thought Shamira at the back end, 3 overs on the trot against Australia's big hitters, and he didn't give them anything to hit, any pace to hit. So as good as Pathum was, and he was spectacular, it wouldn't have gotten here without a superb bowling effort that last 10 overs to go. I think it was Australia ended up 70 for 9 or 72 for 9, something like that. Incredible stuff. And then Pathum was just absolutely brilliant. He and Kusal batted beautifully together, and Pathum just put his foot down and took us over the line. He carried us over the line, and Kusal was brilliant against spin. That's what I was worried about, right? They got that good start, and then Zampa comes in and Connolly comes in, and Kusal just made sure that they kept getting boundaries, kept the run rate manageable, and brilliant innings from him. But Nissanka, that's the story of the day. His 100 sixes all over the ground. He just looked like he was unstoppable.
Tarinder, I just want to go back to, we're going to be on a while. We're going to talk about everything. We'll open the studio up as well. If you're new here, Murali End is a Sri Lankan cricket show. And this is one of the best days in Sri Lankan cricket's recent history. So we've got a lot to discuss. We will open up the studio and give you guys watching a chance to come in and have a chat with us. Tell us what you thought as well. But Tarinder, I want to go back to the power play, right? Because we've already mentioned that the openers, Travis Head suddenly found form. Marsh was tonking it all over the place. We lost a bowler early. Did you think that this Sri Lanka side, a side that we've seen lose matches recently to England, and the side that we've seen lose a lot to Pakistan recently, had this kind of come back in them?
I think that obviously what sort of a challenge we have, obviously bowling to them, and it looks a much better deck compared to the Premadasa actually been playing last few weeks and months. Obviously there's not much offered in the first with the new ball, so I think when you go pace on, I think early doors in a good deck, I think the players like them, it's easy to hit through the ball, and I don't think our plans are spot on to start with. Like knowing Travis said really good, offside. I think we should have maybe gone on like a square field early and go pace off early. But having said that, they learn quicker, and obviously losing Matisha didn't help. But again, as we mentioned, we were very quickly to adapt to the conditions, and that helped us to obviously, even though they had a good power play to start with, to control it. I mean, it's never finished until it's finished. So there's always a crucial point that you can change the momentum, and then which we did really well. I thought, even though they had a really good start, I thought we really got the control back, and they kept losing because they were only going on one gear, and just keep trying to hit boundaries, and they were really. I mean, if you look at the dot ball percentage, and they were not quite. When the bowlers changed their tactics, that I don't think they adapted well enough, and that really cost them wickets and runs.
Yeah, Anton, we should probably talk a little bit about Australia's performance, because we talked about Tarinder was talking about how our bowlers got themselves back into it. I mean, what would they be saying to their dressing room right now, like in terms of how they let that game get away from them? Because actually, even up to about the 15th over, they looked off their innings, they looked quite in control. And there was even points just after Kusal gets out where you think, oh right, maybe if they have a couple of tight overs, Australia could get themselves right back into it, right?
Yeah, I mean, two things that stand out for me there is one is like clearly they missed the experience of Hazelwood and Cummins, right? Because I think exactly what you said. Once Kusal's wicket goes on, the old Australia, and no discredit to any of the guys that are playing right now, but they are not Pat Cummins and they are not Hazelwood. But Stoinis would have just gone and chucked the ball to Cummins and said, "Mate, you're on. Break the game through here for us," type vibe. So I think that definitely plays a role, especially from a psychological point of view. Like they don't have those players to fall back on to break the game open for them. I always knew that Australia have got this sort of they play this power game in T20 cricket. They don't really take their foot off the pedal. But if there's one Achilles heel that they have, it is against spin, or it can be against spin. And we've seen these batting collapses from them before. So people talk about momentum all the time in T20 cricket, and I think you just felt all the momentum get sucked out of their change room, straight back into Sri Lanka's change room. And then the key thing there was the first 6 overs. They were there and thereabouts from a runs perspective, but most importantly, they had wickets in hand, and they kept that momentum and never gave it back to Australia. And that's credit to the team. And I'm so chuffed for them. I'm buzzing for them, absolutely buzzing for them.
I can't believe so much of a conversation coming, you go back a week ago before that first game against Ireland, or 10 days ago, and the conversation was like, do Sri Lanka even have a win against Ireland, or, could we lose to Oman? Like, what's going on? And now you come and, you've seen the way today that we've beaten Australia, and that's not just the message to the fan, not just a win for the table, not just great for the fans. It's also sending a message out to the rest of world cricket, right? It feels like such a big we're back in the game moment, doesn't it, Dom?
Yeah, I think it's, and we've been talking about it. It's not that this side doesn't have the talent. They absolutely do. But, and I think Anton pointed this out, the self-belief, the belief that they can do it no matter what on their day, that they can beat anyone. And guess what? They showed that today, even after they took a big punch from Australia. That, to me, is the difference between this performance and so many others we've seen. We've seen Sri Lanka not play full matches, but play well in spurts. But here, they took it on the chin first and then said, all right, we are going to come out and we're not going to back down one bit. They were at Australia. When they batted, they were at Australia, and they matched the Aussies with the energy they usually bring to the crease. And that is an incredible fight. A team that has, sort of been on the ropes. And I just want to say there's been some fun tweets that have come out about Pathum Nissanka's innings. Jafra Archer has tweeted, Mickey Arthur is tweeting. So a lot of people who've been watching Pathum from afar have now seen his star turn, and he needed runs today, and he delivered in a big, big way. And I have to say, I've seen so many times when we have these 7 runs and over chase where we just play in singles. Pathum was not dealing in singles today. He was dealing in boundaries and wanted to close it out as quickly as possible.
I am absolutely overjoyed with Pathum. Let's talk about his innings a bit. Tarinder, I'll come to you on this first. Because what we see with Pathum is it's not necessarily the power game, right? It's about technique, and it's about timing, it's about footwork. The reason I've come to you, Tarinder, first is because I know you've worked with people like Joe Root, Harry Brook, a lot of players who score a lot of big runs all around the world. After that innings and the way he's developing, and when you contrast it as well to what we saw from Travis Head, let's say, where do you think he kind of fits in amongst other batters across the globe? And who? Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry. Oh no, I think he's up there. To be honest, last 12 months he's been delivering home and away as well. Like that's the key. It's not just in Sri Lanka. He scored runs away from home, and what I heard, but I haven't really seen much. I'm sure Anton knows more than me. He's one of the guys really works hard on his game and wants to improve every session, and trying new things. Won't evolve his game, so he's not comfortable where he is. I think that's the key. That's what shows. I mean, that switch he played, and you can see this is something. There's a 1-2%. There's always there's improvement there. The way he used the pace when they both quicker, and also with how he adapt the game. I remember that boundary or mid on when the stone is going back for length, and he was proactive, and that was the key. I think he was changing gears. He knew where he wanted to hit. Even if there's a couple of dog balls, he still find the boundaries, and it was just a masterclass. Um, yeah, I think answering your question, I think it shows as well, isn't it? Like like IPL is, they don't pick people for sake of it. They do their homework. For him to get into IPL, I think that shows what the works he's been done and all the runs he's scoring.
Yeah, Anton, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's only thing I'd add on to Pathum is I wish actually Estelle was on the podcast tonight, because she interviewed me. I think it was at the SCG in the 22 or 23 World Cup when Pathum dropped that catch against New Zealand. I think he dropped Glenn Phillips, and I was saying to her, like, of course everyone was unhappy and pissed off that they put the catch down, but it's not like a guy like Pathum doesn't put the work in, And one of the things that the fans and people must understand is that no one has to chase Pathum for work. He's always in the nets working on his game. I never have to chase him to come and do his catching. He's always pushing himself in the field. He's always trying. He's always, he's a consummate professional, and that's one of the things I really like about him. And when you stack days and months and years together of that type of preparation, it's no wonder that he has nights and moments like this. They don't happen just overnight. It's a success that's been brewing for a long period of time. And I think Delhi Capitals have got an absolute star in him. They got him for a steal as well. So I'm hoping that, this is just the start of Pathum really putting up his name there amongst some of the best T20 players in the world.
Yeah, we'll open up the stream in a little bit for you guys to come and have a chat. Before we do that, we've kind of, in all the excitement, and because we got the win today, we forgot to even mention the fact that there was a change to the 11. I think we're just going to go round the, Kusal Pereira came in for Kamil Mishra. The veteran came in for someone who's very early in his cricket career. It obviously just didn't work out for Kusal Pereira today. On one hand, some people say that's T20 cricket. You gotta hit or you gotta go. On the other hand, some people say, well, Kamil was coming along nicely. He was kind of working out international cricket, and he may be kind of set back. It's something we've talked a lot about on this show, not just in the last few days or last few games, but over the last 2 or 3 years, how there is this cycle which Sri Lanka players, you come in early, and if you don't quite do what they expect you to do early on, and Anton talked about Pathum dropping catches a couple of World Cups ago, and today winning us games, then you get dropped. I just want to go around and ask everyone Dom, I'll start with you, how you felt about the change to the lineup.
I was frustrated with it, because I think one thing that we saw with Pathum is, he came in and he struck at 100, 110 3 years ago. I don't think anyone would have predicted he'd score a 50-ball 100 against Australia then. But I think what they saw was talent and someone who they backed and supported throughout all the critiques and criticisms. And that should be a lesson to this side, that if you see the quality of a player and you think he's good enough, back him fully. And I think Kamil Mishra is someone who should have been backed fully. So I find that frustrating. I also think he's a good fielder. I think there'll be some interesting questions now that KJP has failed. And then if Matisha is out, at least for the next match, what does the 11 look like? So it's a frustrating thing. I think it's something that the squad is going to have to step back and think about, is what is their policy on young players like Kamil Mishra, and seeing what they've kind of reaped from players like Pathum and Kusal, who they've given lots of chances to and who have grown into that role.
Yeah, Tarindu, would you what looking at the next 11, and let's forget the Pathurana issue at the moment, but in terms of opening bats, do you stick with the same two openers we had today, or do you bring Kamil back into the squad, into the 11?
Probably, yeah, similar lines with Dom. I think I still back Kamil Mishra to play today. He's seen the capabilities, how he strike the ball, and he's a quite dynamic player. And scores pretty much 360. And I always feel like, I mean, Kusal had his days. I mean, he was brilliant back then, but he's quite limited for me now. Like, especially especially in these conditions in Sri Lanka or even India, if you had to go and play against spin, he's going to find it difficult. We've seen that he's relying on his reverse sweep, and if that option goes, then are there enough run scoring options that he have? That's my questions. I think Kamil is a much better all-round player, and always fielding, as we know. You're not going to score runs every day, but even today he came and did some amazing running around and diving around. I think those 1 and 2 runs will make the difference in the next stage.
Yeah, so Anton, we'll get your view on this. I've opened up the studio. If you want to come in and have a chat with us, hit the link on the side and come in. Kulanu's waiting backstage. He'll come on. We'll bring him on in a moment. Anton, what do you think then? What do we stick with the 2 openers today, or do we change it up?
Well, it's a tough one. I mean, hindsight is always an easy thing to do, but I think we've all mentioned this before on the pod. I probably pressed the button 1 game too early for my liking with Kamil. So now it's like you can't go back to him at the very next game. So I think KJP's will undoubtedly get another game, in my opinion. The only thing is, you go back to Premadasa, things change, and I'm not 100% sure. Dom and Mark, you might know better than me. Like, I don't know where are all the Super 8 games at Premadasa, or is it again split between Kandy and Premadasa?
I haven't even been looking that far ahead.
It is, yeah. Okay. It is split
because I think it was pretty clear for everyone to see again just what we mean and talk about the difference between the Premadasa wicket and the Pallekele wicket. Like, one's conducive to stroke play, the other one you've got to be a little bit more creative around how you get the ball into different areas. So where does KJP fit in that picture? I'm not too sure. Was he just a gamble for one-off game at Pallekele, where the ball comes onto the bat a little bit more? I'm not too sure. I don't think they'll go back straight away to Kamil in the very next game. However, you have qualified now, right? You've gone through to the next round. It's now, I think, you've got to try and get your settled 11 as much as you can and stick with that side all the way through, unless there's a game, or you might find an opposition where there's a definite matchup that you want to try and figure out. But I think we're getting to that stage now where we want the 11 to take part in the next couple of games, just to stick together so that everyone knows what's happening.
Yeah, so of the 3 games we're playing in the Super 8s, 2 of them are at Pallekele and 1 is going to be at the Premadasa.
Okay.
So we don't know who will be playing then. Yeah,
England is going to be our first game, actually. We do know that.
Where's that?
Okay.
That's at Pallekele.
Okay. All right. So it's pretty similar as what you're going to get tonight. Pace bowlers hit the deck hard. They'll come hard with the bat from ball 1 all the way to, I think they bat to like 7 or 8, 9. I mean, Australia's batting lineup was also like Cooper Connolly was coming in at what, 8, 9? It's scary. Like, you don't want to be a bowler to that. I thought, Dushi, oh man, unbelievable how he used the angle around the wickets. Australians fell into the trap trying to hit him straight and to the leg side, which is perfect use of that angle, and his quality of pace control, the lack of change ups, and then a couple of quick bounces. He's touch wood. If Dushi stays fit and on the park, he's one of our trump cards. So I'm holding thumbs, fingers crossed for hopefully it was just a cramp issue with Matisha, but calves, I don't know. Whenever it's a calf or a hamstring, I'm always a bit doubtful.
Sanudas said, guys, it's a rare sight. We've got 4 baldies today. So thanks for pointing out that 4 of us are politically challenged. Madishka from ESPN Crick Info has joined us. Welcome to the party, Madishka. I'll come to you in a moment. Let's get Kulinu on though first. If you want to join the stream, please do. The links in the comments section. There's a few people waiting backstage to come on. Kulinu, how are you feeling after today's win?
Bit of a high, right? So pure emotion, I would say. I'm pretty sure my neighbors are going to complain, but I don't mind.
Was there not many people? For people who don't know, you're in Washington DC. Was there not many people there watching that game?
Well, I wasn't watching with other people today. Today is like a holiday in DC, so I was at home. But it was a great game to see, and we've got the Q next to our name, right? Given that in the last T20 World Cup we crashed out, so such a relief. But a great game. I want to say that echoing what all of you said, right? We knew that Australia, given how they are usually, are going to come out hard. Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh, even against a great bowling attack, which we have, they're going to, if they're on their day, they're going to be really powerful and brutal, right? So I think we weathered that, managed to, stay in the game. And that's why we came out on the other side. And when Pathum Nissanka hit that 6 off Stoinis, I think, of the last ball of the 15th or 16th, that was when like my emotions peaked at that moment, saying we're going to win this now, because it was a statement stroke and balls flying off on the leg side of their bats, right? Pathum Nissanka and Kusal Mendis, when they start timing it over square leg and fine leg for 6, that's what we want to see. So really good game. Of course, as you said, Matisha Patrina, we are waiting on his fitness, but if something goes wrong as well, the way we managed our bowlers can say something about how we might go about it moving forward, because in the much of the innings we didn't have him. So Theekshana came in and bowled that 19th over, flanked by Dushmanta Chamira's 2 overs. So maybe what we do is put Theekshana and Mahesh Theekshana at the death as well. Maybe if something goes wrong. But anyway, it was great to see a performance that on both, like even in the chase we aced it, right? Like even when Pawan Ratnayaka came out, Aaron Finch was discussing like how Cameron Green came in, and then they got into a bit of a hole because the new batter couldn't get going. But then Ratnayaka sort of understood what he needed to do, and then he supported Pathum Nissanka also. All in all, that big Q next to our name, that's the most important thing. And then on Thursday we can relax a little bit, right? Sikandar Rasa won't come up with a man of the match performance and knock Sri Lanka out. That's not possible now. So it's good to be in that position. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, Kulinu, like I know Thursday's a bit different now because we're qualified, but if it was a pressure game or the first game of the Super 8, what would you do to that kind of opening lineup? Would you change the number 2 position or keep KJP?
It's a bit of a toss-up, right? So I'd leave it to, I like Kamil Mishara's fielding a little bit better, but KJP also held on to his catches today. So you really can't criticize him either. So it's fine. I would next game I would go KJP again, and then see. And then and the good thing is, as you mentioned, Dom, we have played 3 games against England at Pallekele, right? The T20 series was at Pallekele. So hopefully we've learned from like what we did with Jacob Bethel and people like that. So so I don't mind it. It's a little bit of a toss-up for me. I don't have really any sort of strong feelings about it. But if it's a tight game, I know fielding and things like that are important. So let's see how KJP goes in the next game as well, and then maybe we can make a call then.
Wicked. Kulinu, I'm going to have to let you go because there's so many people waiting to come on. Thank you for
Amazing.
coming on. And when I do let you go, you just hang about backstage for a minute so I can upload your video. Madushka, thanks for coming on. And also thanks for blurring your Man United picture because no one wants to see that on a day like today. That's behind you. What's your take? Like, what's your thoughts? Half an hour after that game come to an end.
It's freaking amazing. I just got done actually sending in a quick match preview for tomorrow's game for Ireland and Zimbabwe, and just big picture on the group, because I'm sure you guys have already spoken plentiful about the game today. It's Sri Lanka could cause chaos in this group by just playing well, because if Ireland tomorrow, if they beat Zimbabwe, and Ireland and Zimbabwe have they've won 8 T20Is each against each other. So it's really down the middle. You'd get a situation where Sri Lanka beats Zimbabwe, you get Australia, Ireland, and Zimbabwe all on 4 points, separated by net run rate, with Sri Lanka flying high on their perfect record. And yeah, so listen, Australia could just very well come back to bite us and like beat us at some other point in this in this World Cup. But it is a fascinating turn of events, and I think the one thing that really like sat with me was all the messages I was getting on WhatsApp on the different groups, because it's such a downer as of late when you watch Sri Lanka cricket. You know, there's the negativity. Like even when okay, so obviously when Head and Marsh were going strong, the negativity was through the roof. Then Pathum gets injured, and it's just like the people are turning off their TVs. Then when we pull it back. But even when, you know, halfway through you've got Nissanka and Mendes on that partnership, people just are refusing to kind of get carried away. There's just so much of a, you know, it's cautious optimism. And it was only literally, I think, once we got this, the required rate below like a runner ball, that's when people kind of were like, okay, we're not going to throw this game away. And I think Anton said this the last time we were on. Sri Lanka is such a confident, like dependent group. Like they need their confidence, and I am so intrigued to see how we go about. So let's say hypothetically, thought experiment, we beat Zimbabwe as well. It would. I can't remember the last time we had 4 T20 wins in a row. Right, and that too against fairly caliber opposition here, barring the first 2 games. But yeah, you know, and it would be wild to see a confident Sri Lanka taking on a Pakistan who they've lost to recently. You know, it's a fascinating thing, right? Confidence. Look at how Pavan Ratnayaka played today. You know, we were just discussing. I think last time I suggested that he be dropped for Kusal Johnny Pereira, right? And now you got Pavan just coming in and knocking the first ball for 4 over extra cover, and you're just like, oh yeah, easy. It's fascinating what confidence can do. Yeah, but I'm over the moon. My wife, who doesn't follow cricket, was chanting "Patia, Patia" in the living room. So yeah.
I think we've just lost Tarindu, sadly. But I was gonna ask him, what really surprises me is how kind of 10 days ago, I don't think any of us could have sat down and hand an answer. This is the 11 that is going to start the first game of the World Cup, and this is the 11 that's going to get us through to the Super 8. And it seems to just all kind of come together in the end, which is, or not the end, like at this moment, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. Like we were like all of us have been on in the last few weeks, and we were kind of all pretty, you know I keep saying road time Menopad, but I'm like, at this moment, I'm trying to speak it into existence, right? And kind of actually, I'll bring Tarindu back in. Actually, it's kind of worked out for us. I mean, the question that is in my head is just like, who saw this coming? Because it wasn't like we scraped over the line. Today, we've come back from like those first, like I'm going to say 10 overs was serious adversity, right? Mm-hmm. And we've kind of come back for it. Tarindu, was this always the plan? Did they want to lose those games leading up to the World Cup to let us feel low so that we feel totally buzzed now?
Well, let's hope that was the plan. No, I thought. I mean, on the cards, like it's a very strong Australian side who have the depth of batting, and Anton mentioned already. I mean, they probably lack of their best bowlers who are experienced and played World Cups and performed, and really used to those conditions. And I think he saw that. Even though some of the players are quality fast bowlers, like under pressure, they just they couldn't. They even how good they are. When the game takes you on, I think it really tests you.
Yeah. I'm going to bring Akmal on because he's been waiting backstage to come on chat to us. There's a few people backstage, so we'll try and get to as many people as possible. I'll put the link in the in the comments again. Akmal, how you doing? How you feeling after that game? Oh, I can't hear you. Can't hear you, bro. I don't know what's.
Yeah, you might be muted.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll keep you. I'll take you off for the moment. Yeah, I'll take you off for the moment. I'll bring Zaid on. Zaid, you there, bro?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, man.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. How you feeling after that win?
It was a good win. It was a good win, to be honest. Watching the game with my dad, the first bit, I would say up until the first 8 to 9 overs, I would say Australia had us. I'd say, Matisha going off was a big dent up for us, especially with the injury he had. What's that, the second or third injury having this team now? So question marks on, the trainers over there. But after the power play, once Hamanta got the wicket of Travis Head, I feel like that's when the game kind of changed for me. And then we slowly brought it back. I feel like when Lalage also, yes, he went for 30 plus runs, but I feel like he kind of controlled the middle passage with Hamanta. And coming in as well for those 2 overs. Yes, he went for 19 runs, but in the balance of it, he did take a wicket as well. So, the players stepped up today. I think especially in a game like this, yes, Sri Lanka should be beating the likes of Ireland, the likes of Oman. But when it comes to a game like Australia, you need to kind of, bring that firepower and bring that energy. And, bringing the score to 180, I feel like was a very big thing because halfway through 10 overs, 12 overs, you're expecting Australia to score around 220 plus. And then coming back to 180, I feel like that's when the boys had confidence. You saw at the end, Chamira stepped it up, especially with his partner going off. And then when it came to the second innings, I always had a feeling Kusal or Pathum would definitely, take their chance today. The boys were smiley, especially after, them going for 180. And from there, I felt like we were definitely in with the game. We were with the run rate, we always have the struggle after the power play. We always play well on the power play. We always score that 50, 60 plus with, a wicket going. But then from the 6th to the 14th, I would say where we struggle when spinners come in. But we actually played really well. No dot balls. We were, taking those 1s and 2s at the same time, taking those boundaries. I was very impressed with the shots played from Mendes and Nissanka, especially. It wasn't all just power hitting. It was shots behind the keeper. It was, shots through the gaps, taking those 2s. And yeah, we played really well. And I'm happy for Nissanka taking that 100 as well.
Yeah, just all incredible. There's a lot. Go on.
One thing I was thinking about with Zayed, I think that phase was super crucial. I think Kusal against spin was brilliant. Zampa comes on, hits him for a boundary, first ball. Connolly, that beautiful shot inside out over cover was incredible. And I think, he should get a shout out. He has kind of sublimated his game to the good of the team. He's taken out risk taking and said, okay, I'm going to stick along and allow all the other guys to motor along. And that takes maturity. It takes skill. And he has hung about, and his scoring has made a big difference. It kept us alive against Ireland. And here it made sure that Pathum could go on and get a big one. Exactly.
Anton probably knows more about Kusal and Pathum, but I think Kusal has matured a lot these last couple of years. And I feel like he's finally been that batsman that we all thought he can be. He always had that talent. He always had the technique. It was just the consistency that was missing from his game. And it finally feels like he's finally added that to his bag as well. And don't get me wrong, another player that, kind of impressed me a lot has been Pavan. I'm not going to lie, I have been one of those guys that has, I didn't think Pavan was suited for T20s. I don't think I'm the only one there, but to be honest, he's done really well. He's stepped up. It's similar to the position Cam Green was on. I'm pretty sure he went out for 4 of 7 or 8 balls, but then Pavan, that was a difference maker. He didn't, use up those balls. He went straight on, got those boundaries, and released the pressure off Nissanka to score his 100, and that's where we won the game. I think moving on, we probably need to see if Patiran is okay. I'm hearing it's just a mild calf injury, which would take him out for a couple of weeks. I'm not sure on that front, but hoping he's back. And yeah, I think even Hamanta, I think he stepped up a lot. I'm not going to lie. The first game, I guess he was a bit rusty, but this game, he really showed that, he has the ability to take wickets. Yeah, he went for a few runs, but most did. But I think I have been very impressed. I mean, it would have been easy for us to just bring in Van der Sey, because he probably was in better form, but I feel like for the balance of the team, we needed an all-rounder, and we played really well, especially fielding as well. I think Hamanta and the other lads, yes, Nissanka dropped a catch, but the catch that he took, and I was laughing honestly when Tikshana took that final catch at the end. He's not very much known for those catches, but he did his job as well.
Do you know when Tincture took that catch, I just knew it was our day. I was like, his day. I was like, oh, this is one of the movies where the good guys win.
Exactly.
Zaid, I'm gonna let you go, bro, just because we've got so many people waiting to come on.
Yeah, no worries. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
Enjoy.
Hopefully we get you back on soon after the next game.
Yeah, for sure. See you guys later.
Wicked. Thanks, bro. Tarindu, it's a tradition in Murali End when we get someone new joins the show from who's worked with SLC, is we ask them to explain. Akbar, thanks for joining us, bro. We'll come to you in a moment. We asked them to explain why so many Sri Lankan bowlers seem to get injured at key moments. Anton had to do it last week. Look.
I wish if I had the answer. Honestly, don't know. I mean, you get qualified experts working with them. So, honestly, if I knew the answer, yeah. Honestly, I don't know, Mark. But it is like a trend, isn't it now? I mean, especially, one of the key bowlers for our lineup. For him to go today, even like when he broke down, we all was thinking what's going to happen, like who's going to bowl his overs, and luckily we had obviously Dasun can bowl, and Kamilu came and done a decent job. But going back to your question, I can't say just the one way. I think there's so many things going into it. Obviously, main area they're talking about workloads, then there obviously bowling techniques, etc. But yeah, you can't just say one thing.
Look, I'll jump in there quickly. Like now that I'm not working there anymore, like the proof's in the pudding, right? So this is not a new thing, and no one's pointing fingers to anyone. All I would say is that whatever has been done or currently being doing, it's not working. It's absolutely not good enough that our best players are not on the park at the most important tournaments in the calendar year.
Can you guys hear me?
If you look at Australia, they've got guys, their fast bowlers play, up until Stark that's just recently retired, but they play all 3 formats, and those guys hardly ever seem to miss a day. Now, yes, I think Cummins has been, they're sort of resting him a little bit for this tournament, and unfortunately Hazelwood picked up an injury, first time in a long time. But it just seems like with Sri Lanka that every single time, just when we get somewhere and things starting to gain a little bit momentum, these things crop up. Now you can't keep blaming it on bad luck, because this is, like I said to you, it's just a recurring theme. And yeah, whoever's in charge of those sort of things, I think it's time to finally just throw everything out the window, what you've been doing, and come up with something new and stick to that for at least an extended period of time to see if that actually works. Because we can't keep doing this. We can't keep going through the same thing again, where our best players are now, potentially not even in the World Cup anymore. So yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So just to add something to what Anton said, I wonder, because we haven't had fast bowler injuries. There was a period over the last year where we had a pretty consistent run some of the fast bowlers, but it's just that we had a big catalogue. But I think I'm wondering whether these particular injuries, for both the calf injury and Malinga's injury, whether it's down to Lasith Malinga's training methods, because he is very much a proponent of just doing, like, practicing the same thing like 100 hours, that, like, that sort of thing. Not like actually 100 hours, but just repeatability, right? And Pathum said something to this effect a couple of weeks back when England were on tour. He said that the biggest change is he's just been bowling a lot more, right? So I know Lasith did this. That is Lasith's method, but I'm wondering whether, in terms of workload management, whether there's not much synergy over there, because it is. I mean, Malinga literally it was his arm. He dislocated his shoulder on follow through, which is the strangest fast bowling injury I've ever come across. And then you've got Pathum going against his going on his calf. But again, I think there's something to it. I don't know how much they look at the data. I don't know how much. Like, I know in football,
look, I can tell you the guys monitor fast, like that period that you're talking about with the fast bowlers. Like, it felt like every single game that we played when I was there, that something was going to happen with one of our fast bowlers. So there was a stage where things weren't just going our way, and I can tell you it's not through a lack of scientific research. It's not through a lack of planning. It's not through a lack of trying to tick all those boxes. I think if you look at the history, and again, this is just me hypothesizing and me sharing my 2 cents worth. I mean, take it as you may, but there has been quite a high staff turnover in the last couple of years. Call it a decade or so at Sri Lanka cricket, and these fast bowlers, also with the advent of T20, they're now playing T20 tournaments around the world. Like, who's actually in charge of that bowler's workload, right? Because the player goes to one team and he's asked to do X, Y, and Z. But from a Sri Lankan perspective, we actually want to try and manage that guy to the best of our ability. So I think there's so many pieces to this puzzle that creates a really tough environment to try and navigate through if you're a fast bowler. Even if you're a normal bowler, like Wani's also bowling a lot more than what he would have a couple of years ago. So it's all around, yes, managing that, but it's now a cricketer has to realize that you're now in a 12-month program. There's no such thing as an on-season and an off-season. So how you plan your 12-month program, forget about workload management. You just have to be individually, you've got to be the fittest and the strongest and well-conditioned athlete that you can be to sustain a 12-month program. Otherwise, this is what's going to happen. So I think a lot of accountability also has to go down to the player itself. It's not just around, but he was in charge of my bowling workload, or I went to that coaching setup, they asked me to do different stuff. I think each player also has to take accountability and say, listen, if I want to earn money, if I want to make money traveling and playing cricket around the world and doing well at the same time, bowling in the high 140s, touching 150s every single game, my body conditioning has to be able to sustain that. And so you've got to try and figure out during your 12-month period where you're going to have a block of conditioning to upskill, not just to upskill, but to get your conditioning up again. Because you can't just go around bowling and thinking, oh, that's going to make me stronger and fitter, right? There's got to be moments in your calendar where you say, okay, I'm now focusing on strength. I'm now focusing on building up my VO2 max, all those sort of things. Now I'm going to work on my hamstring strength. Now, because those things, you have to sustain your body for 12 months now. There's no such thing as off season. There's no such thing as on season. And I think that's where the player needs to sit down together with whoever's in charge of his program and map out a pathway forward. Right now, I think the players are just jumping at opportunities left, right, and center, and fair enough to them because there's a lot of money to be made out there. But I think what tends to happen is that eventually down the line they break, and that's unfortunate. So
yeah, that's actually a very fair point.
Hopefully, somebody. I'm just hopefully at some point we can kind of get a grip on this, because we've now lost 3 of our original, 15, is it 15 or 16 man squad? So you're like, at some point, like, we're going to run out of people to bring in. And, we don't know what the situation is with Matisha. Obviously, we wish him all the best, and I hope, maybe it's something minor and he recovers in the next few days. Guys, I just want to go to Akmal because he's been waiting so patiently. Akmal, bro, how you doing?
Okay.
How you feeling after that win?
Well, I'm in Australia right now, so it's about 5 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Australia are you? On the
I'm in
east
Sydney.
or west coast? Oh, gosh.
Sydney, yeah.
Yeah. Are you scared to go outside because of the hammering that your team has laid to the Aussies?
Yeah, my cousins back home have been hammering me about the game because they went to actually go watch it.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah.
Was it worth staying up all night for?
I think, yeah, it was good, especially after we saw, like, I actually expected them to drop Hamanta after the Oman game. I thought they were going to bring Sri Lanka back, but them not doing that is such a unlike Sri Lankan thing. So, I mean, that was pretty surprising. But what I wanted to talk about mainly was how quickly our fan base switches up in the matter of a few days. I don't know if you guys have been like on the media. Even my dad was saying, like, even on like Facebook and stuff, we just got like after that 3-0 hammering from England, we're just getting like absolutely. Our team is just getting thrown on the bus. Like, they're talking about boycotting the matches. They're talking about not watching our team ever play again. They're talking about how every single player in our team is rubbish and how we have to scrap everything. But then after like a few wins, we're back on that same train. Like,
I have 2 distinct thoughts about this, right? Firstly, it's that Sri Lankan cricket fans go, like, they say things on social media that they would never say to a person if they saw them in real life, right? We all know that Sri Lankans are deeply respectful people, and they would never. I see comments in the section of this show about certain players and and about things that happen, what players have done, which I think they would never. Whoever's made those comments would never say them in real life. The second point, my second thought about the way our fans behave on social media is that part of it comes from just the passion of it, right? I think there's very few teams in the world where their performances are so linked to how the people feel. I mean, with the Sri Lanka side, we call them by their first names. Like, it's not Hasaranga, it's Wani, right? It's like you talk about the team by their first name. It's because we feel so close to them. I think everyone in Sri Lanka knows, or is within like 2 degrees of separation from somebody who's either in the side, about to be in the side, or just left the side, right? So I think it's because we feel so personal about it. I also think about when Sri Lankan cricket's at its best, it's so reflective of Sri Lanka itself as well, and what makes Sri Lankans successful in other walks of life. So it has to be in some way innovative, right? Like, all our best sides have some sort of innovation in it, and the best moments have had innovative moments in it. So I think that's why it's so kind of emotionally attached to us. Someone's audio, I think I might need to take you off, Akmal. I think his audio just gone really strange there. Tarinder and Anton, you guys have been within the setup. What's the kind of fan reaction? What did people within the setup say about it? The way that some so-called fans turn it on and off so much. Is that frustration, or is that just part and parcel of professional sport?
I think as you said, like they're very passionate, and the expectations are high, because obviously going back, last number of years. I mean, from 1996 up to 2015, we had such a good run. Like we were very good at the World Cups, and winning 2 World Cups and coming into few finals, and that's expectations. I think carried on, and I think people has to be realistic as well. Like, teams are going through transitions, and there's a lot of things happens, and um, everyone has a voice now, isn't it? And a lot of people jumping on the bandwagons to get the attention. I think those noises. You need to be smart about how you listen to it. You think, as the guy earlier said, like, it changes all the time. You just need a one bad game again, and people will be again questioning the ability and where are we gonna go and all these things. And I think just focus on their processes and training, and and then the best thing we can do is support them. And we know how hard is the game, and how the demands and the challenges come to it. All we can do is support them in every possible way.
Yeah. I think Sri Lanka is the victim of their own, past success. Of the almost like two golden generations that we've been lucky to be blessed with. Me from watching, but you guys obviously a lot more closer ties to the Sri Lankan days. And in those generations, there wasn't really any internet or social media back in those days. So now those guys are in charge of the game. They're in charge of the team per se. That those guys are all in the role playing seats, and it almost, I get the sense that they're the ones that get affected by it the most. Not so much the players. The players are professional enough to know when to turn on and switch. That's just part and parcel these days of being a professional sportsman. But I think the people that really need to protect the team are the key stakeholders and role players a few levels up. Those are the guys that should stay off Facebook. Those are the guys that should leave Instagram alone. Those are the guys that should stay off Twitter. Because as soon as they hear the fan base is turning, the fan bases will always be either 50% positive or 50% negative. And we've literally, in the last 2 weeks, we've seen how Sri Lanka has gone from getting absolutely pummeled in a series against England, to now having won the first 3 games in the World Cup, and you couldn't be in a happier and a better position, right? So from a fan's perspective, I get it. That's what a fan's allowed to do. You're supposed to be fanatic, right? You're supposed to be pissed off when your team loses, and you're supposed to be ecstatic when your team wins. But the people that are running the game and are, they should be protecting the team from that, and there should be no noise filtering from the top through to the team. And I just feel in the past, not just with Sri Lanka, and this is not having a go at anyone in the Sri Lankan setup, but I think a lot of teams, subcontinent teams specifically, they allow that stuff to filter into the coaching setup, into the players setup, because there seems to be a lot of emphasis and focus placed on the social media side of things. And to be honest, what is social media? Come on, like some of these names that they, hide behind posting these stuff. You can't even pronounce what their names are. Like, it's nothing. It's just words. So what counts is that you walk onto the field at a packed house in Pallekele. Kudos to the people of Kandy to come out and support their team in droves tonight, because let me tell you, the players love playing in packed out crowds. And I can tell you another thing. A lot of the guys have spoken to me personally, and they said Kandy is one of their better places to play, because it forces them to play better. Because a lot of the times the fans, especially when it's packed, to get a taxi or a tuk-tuk back to the main part of Kandy takes a long period of time. So if you've lost, the bus has to drive through the fans to get back onto the main road to sort of drive back to the hotel, and a lot of bad things can be said to them. But when you win, it's nice driving through that circus, because everyone's cheering, and so they get pumped up a little bit extra to play at Kandy. But kudos to the guys to come out and support their team, because at the end of the day, what matters is that you put in a massive performance against Australia, who we all know, if they get through to the next round, they could very well still make the final and, lo and behold, win the trophy, right? So you've got to do everything in your power to keep those guys out of the Super 8, because we don't want to face them again. Because if those guys get into a playoff situation, they turn into a different beast. Well done to Sri Lanka today. It's been awesome to watch.
Edith has joined us. Edith, thank you for coming on. Edith Arosh, if you don't know, he's Sri Lanka's probably #1 cricket
Thank you, Mark, for that introduction. Relieved, Mark, to be honest. If you've been following my content for the last 2 years, I've been saying the same thing over and over again. We should be, as fans, happy that we've got a bunch of players who actually put 100%. It's just that their mindset is off at times. There's so much of pressure from so many different angles. And I think today they proved the fact that the belief that the fans had, very small number of fans, but they've proven what they can do. And considering the fact that it's an utter mess, if you look at the administration, if you look at, the changes that we've done coming into the World Cup, we were not settled as a side. And with all of that noise outside, we've still come in. We've lost one of our premier bowlers early in the tournament. We lost another one today. We played with basically 10 players, and we still went out and played this kind of dominating cricket. We won the game with 2 overs to spare. So it's not that we don't have talent. It's not that these guys don't know how to play cricket. It's just how they apply themselves. And I think today, for me, I should be ecstatic, but for me, it's relief, especially because we believed in most of these guys. Even guys who came in, Kamil Mishara, Dushan Hemant, these guys have worked really, really hard in the domestic structure for a long, long time. Yes, there's a gap there. They'll take time to adjust, and we just have to have faith and believe that they will turn around and, give us performances like this. A long way to go in the tournament. Honestly, I'm not going to jump up or about, except on the live. It's all about momentum. We've got Zimbabwe coming up. We need to play the same kind of cricket that we played. And then it's one game from there. It's Super 8, it's 2 games. If you win, then anything can happen. Not going to look at it that far, but I think today's performance is just brilliant.
What are the I can't remember what game it was when you came on last time. We talked about whether or not it was possible, or whether if the kind of leadership around the team was weak, would the players kind of band together and be like, right, this is how we win. We're going to set the culture. We're going to set the tone. This is the kind of 11 we want, the senior players. When you look back through the history of Sri Lankan cricket, when we've been successful, there's always been 1 or 2 characters who have kind of driven the culture. And I wonder, I kind of pose the question again to you today, is are we seeing that? I'm not in the dressing room. I don't know who the voices are in there. But is it Dustin? Is it Kusal Mendes? Is it Kusal Pereira? Is that how he's back in the side? Is it Pathum? Are these the guys? Are they putting it all together and going, right, this is how we're going to do it. 10 overs in, we're not out of it. Like, let's get through and get those wins.
Look, honestly, I think we made a big mistake by replacing Dasun Chanak in the first place, right? Yes, he's got the job back, but I've always thought that Dasun Chanak was a better captain because he knew how to handle the boys, right? He was not one of those, larger than life characters. He was just, he was on that level with all the other players, and that's how we managed to turn around the cricket in Sri Lanka. I mean, if you look at it after 2019-20, so he has that ability to do it, and we, as always, panicked that World Cup. He was not performing. We did the same thing with Charita Sri Lanka. We did that there as well. But I just feel the group that they've built, in the past few weeks, the last month, last 6 months, if you look at it, these guys have been playing together for a long time, right? And they also, you remember the situation when Kamil Mendes, Trevin Matthew and Dushan Hemant were not allowed to the hotel. They were sent back. And they did a U-turn on that as well. So they've got Mohammad Shiraz in that pool, net bowler. They've got Trevin Matthew back in that setup. They've got all those the young energy into that setup as well. So right now they're all in Kandy, right? We've got Manuja Sahan in Kandy. So this is what we've been saying, not to change. Don't let them go. You can house them somewhere else, but keep this group going together, and that really helps. I mean, if you look at the side now that we have, we're getting Dushan Hemante in, Kamil Mishare in, Pathum Nissanka in the field, Dunit Velalege in the field. It just changes the way the energy in the team and the way we play. I think Dasun Shanaka fits where he fits. The only concern I have is we shouldn't be doing this often. We shouldn't be changing this often, right? We've got to believe in these boys. We've got to believe that they can do something. And I think that has come across. Because I think one main factor for me of this culture changing is Lasith Malinga getting in there, right? He's hands-on. He's always voicing his opinion, sometimes a bit too much. But when you have people like Lasith Malinga, Sanat Jayasuriya getting together, probably something is working that way also, right? But again, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We've lost two good players, star players, people who can create impact. From here on, I think the energy, World Cup's confidence matters. So we've got that confidence going and hopefully we'll move forward. Culture-wise, I don't think we are there yet.
There's a few people waiting backstage coming on. I'll bring them in a minute. Madushka, though, I probably part of the reasons why we're seeing this chopping and changing is because almost for the first time in definitely in my lifetime, Sri Lanka actually have options, right? There is an actual like you look at it's fast bowling unit. We actually have a fast bowling unit. There's like two guys and maybe a third guy who can kind of do something, but we never see him. So when he has to have a go, no one knows what's going to happen, right? Is it almost an embarrassment of riches and selectors don't know how to manage it? Is that the problem?
So yeah, I think what Udit was saying was also quite and Anton as well. Yeah, it's definitely there is. And just to answer your question first off, yeah, fast bowling. I'm worried, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, who are you bringing in, right? So you've got, I mean, the options are, so Madhushan will probably come in for the next game. But if Pathirana is not able to continue, it's going to be one of Madhushanka, Binura or Tushara, right? You bring any of those guys in, I wouldn't necessarily be unhappy with it, right? I think the reason Madhushanka wasn't considered is lack of match practice, because he's fit from my understanding. He's been fit for a few months. So Madhushanka is an option, Tushara is an option, and Binura is an option, right? So like you said, yeah, it is an embarrassment of riches. But if we go to say something like the Kusal, Janit Pereira, Kamidu Mendis, Dhananjaya De Silva, love triangle that we had happening just before the England series, I think that is 100% down to there being disagreements in the coaching staff. Like maybe I'm not going to say who's who, but let's say you got two guys who are just like, yeah, we want experience of Kusal Pereira, and then someone else saying, yeah, but we need Dhananjaya because he bowls a bit of spin. And then someone else saying, well, if you're going to get Dhananjaya in, then we got to get rid of Kamidu because you can't have Kamidu and Dhananjaya. And that is kind of how these decisions happen. And then they go right to the top. And that is the decision maker. Where they kind of, if there is a tiebreaker, so to speak, you know, that's how it happens. It's a bit chaotic in that sense, but I do think you, Udit, you said something, or was it who said it about having Lasith Malinga there? Yeah, Udit. So I think that was a pretty pertinent point because Lasith is outspoken, so he has his views, and sometimes you kind of need that because Sanat is extremely conservative in his thinking. He was a conservative captain and he was a conservative selector. He's a little bit reactive. He's a little bit emotional. You saw him on the sidelines today, right? And I think
I think that'll be a very good thing when the team is winning. I think Sanath is going to be great right now. He's going to that positivity is going to flow. So yeah, let's see. But yeah, you're right, Udit. You're spot on. I think as a nation, as a cricketing culture, we definitely need to be need to be better and need to be a little bit more understanding, especially when it comes to T20 cricket. Like it's such a volatile format. You know, I think people we've been brought up watching ODI cricket, a lot of us. And the thing with ODI cricket is like there is a certain element of like when you it's weird. Someone was comparing India's 25 game. I think they've won 25 out of 26 World Cup ICC knockout games over the past couple of years, right? And then someone compared it to Australia. But I still think what Australia did is far more impressive because they did that solely over ODIs. And in ODIs, there's really no place to hide. Whereas, I'll be honest, like if Pakistan had put up a better performance with the bat, they could have chased down, or at least they could have made a meal of that chase, right? I don't think India are particularly like they're consistent at being absolutely devastating, but I think our Sri Lankan team now has a better chance of beating this India team in a one-off game than our Sri Lankan team then had a chance of beating Australia at their peak, just based on the format.
Oh, we're talking about the road to Ahmedabad, and Madushka is there. He's waiting for us in Ahmedabad. Sri has joined us at the show. Thanks for joining us, Sri. How are you feeling about today's win?
Well, great, Mark. I mean, we've all have things to say when we don't do well, right? But today is an exception. And as Udit just mentioned, you guys have been creating content for years now. And this is a great compliment for all of you, I think. And I'm really happy and I thought I'll join in to say hello. And yeah, today's win, I think, highlights a few things that Sri Lanka cricket is not dependent on one or two superstars. And also it shows there is enough reserve, there is talent, and if the right conditions are in front of us, we can compete against the best and only can improve, right? So yeah, great day. Not one to think too far ahead, but yeah, great day for all the fans.
Yeah, it just like I think it's so important to remember that the headlines will be stolen by Pathum Nissanka, rightfully so, but it was such an all hands in effort, wasn't it? Like every player, and that catch by Tikshana, I messaged Anton straight away, and I was like, I can't believe Tikshana's catching, like Tikshana is catching, like just an incredible performance. I hope, and thanks for what you said about the content. I do this just for pure love of Sri Lankan cricket, right? And we all love Sri Lankan cricket, and all I want, because I know how important it is to so many of us. I just want us to have a good run, like just get to the Super 8, right? That for me, that was like the base level. That should always be the base level of our cricket team and what we expect. Now we're there, going and put a couple more similar performances, and then once you get to the top end of that Super 8, if you get to the semi-finals, absolutely anything's possible. As Madushka just said, India just need one bad day, right? We now basically need 5 good days, right? And anything can happen. I don't know what the rest of the panel think about
that. Just to dive in there, I mean, this happened during the Asia Cup as well. We won 4-4, right? We won 3-3, 4-4. We won those group stage games, and then we lost that Super 6, whatever that was, Super 4, whatever. And we had one good game against India also, which we lost, but we played really well. We almost chased down 200, and then we panicked. The administration panicked, the fans panicked, everybody panicked. Sri Lanka cricket is done. We had all of that. I mean, go back a little bit more. Asia Cup, we beat Pakistan. We went to the finals. We got out all out of 54. People started panicking, right? So it's like social media, like Anton said, they panic always. And the administration needs to keep their head straight. Simple. Forget the players. The administration needs to keep their head straight. I mean, these are fans. They have all the right to panic, but you don't. You have responsibility to take care of the team, look at the future, and not get into panic decision making, right? And so we've done it again now, and that is consistency, don't you think? We got 3 and 3 here. We got 3 and 3 during the Asia Cup. So have faith in the boys. We're not going to win always, right? And as soon as we lose a game, none of these guys can play cricket apparently, right? And then you change the top. They do different kinds of things, and we're lucky we are here. So I just shared a video on Facebook, something that I did 1 year ago, when I said the administration needs to calm down, and we are lucky our cricket is here because the boys are talented. The system is crap, right? It's a crap system. It's changing now a little bit. We've spoken about this before. And we're still producing players in a broken system. Right? And these guys are trying hard. And none of these players are going into the middle, thinking that they want to lose. None of them, right? So we need to have faith in the boys because the system is broken. The administration is broken. The cricket system is broken. School cricket system is broken. And we should be lucky that we've got this talent. We've got about 42 players who are good. Right? Got 40 to 45 players who are domestic contracted as well. Sri Lanka, the development squads is about 45. These 45 kids are good and producing good players in a broken system. We should be grateful that we've got these guys. Right? So we need to be a bit more calmer. The fans need to be a bit more calmer. We might not win any of the games in the Super 8, no problem, but we've got that. Right? So I think common sense needs to prevail, and fans need to have a better understanding of what the structure is, what's going on in the system, who are the consistently performing players. Right? I mean, if you look at this grouping, this grouping is made by Upal Taranga and that selection committee, right? If you look at Dushan Hemant, he's done well consistently in the domestic circuit. Dunit has been doing well. Kamil Mishar has been doing very, very well in the domestic structure for about 3 to 4 years now, right? So these are the next batch of players, and there's some more to come. Players like Sonal Dinusha, Lassit Cruz Pulle, we've got Anuj Sahan coming up. I mean, these are good players who are coming up on the ranks, and Vishen Halambage is coming. Prashant just sent me, Prashant is an assistant coach at Bloomfield. He sent me a video of Vishen Halambage getting some throwdowns. He looks much better. He looks slimmed down a bit more. His wrists are working better. So we have a talent pool. It's just that fans, we need to have faith, because our fans probably think that if you're top 4, that's it. Only the top 4 in the world know how to play cricket. No one else knows how to play cricket, right? And this World Cup, look at all the minnow teams look at them playing. Look at Italy, how they're playing. Look at how Nepal played. Look at how Netherlands are playing. So cricket has changed. And 2020 cricket, I'm telling you, in the next 5 to 10 years, you will have a proper, just like the Football World Cup, where you're not sure who's going to win in any of these games, right? So cricket has changed. I think we've got about 30, 40 good teams now getting into T20 cricket. And I mean, if you look at it, we've got 20 now already, right? Oman, they had an issue with the board and they're probably playing a C team right now. But even them, right, these are good teams. I played for Oman, under 15, under 17, right? I know how the cricket has changed from then to now. So we should be lucky we are between 6 to 10 in rank, right? And we should be thankful these players are doing a lot, considering the turbulent environment that we have.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember. We've spoken about this recently. I think when Anton was on last week, how we can't underestimate the fact that Sri Lanka is one of those places in the world. If no team ever wanted to play Sri Lanka ever again, I'm not going to take fate, but if we somehow ended up outside the ICC and we weren't able to ever play cricket for the next 20 years, you could come back to Sri Lanka in 20 years' time and then still be playing big matches, then still be playing cricket in everywhere you went, then still be we'd still be producing players. And there's so many parts of the world that are so-called established cricket nations which are really struggling with their player pipeline. Look at Australia. If you speak to people who follow Australian cricket, they're really worried about where their next test players are coming from. where the next white ball players come from. Arguably we saw a bit of that today, possibly. In England, I know they're always talking about, where's the next players coming from. They got bailed out in the 2000s because they were able to get a load of South Africans over, and the currents moving to England really sorted them out with in T20 cricket, right? But Sri Lanka has just got this huge pool of talent that I always think the problem is like they're able to create the talent. It's getting them to a stage where they can play international cricket, because so much, maybe this is the conversation around Kamal Mishra right now. So much is like, oh, right, you're a 22-year-old who's really good at cricket. There you go. We're dropping you in the MCG, go and score a century. And if you haven't, you're out. It's like you at that top level, you can't expect them all to arrive fully formed. Very few. There's not just in cricket, not just in professional sport, but in very few areas of walks of life does that ever happen. They've got to learn how to be professional sportsmen and women, and then they've got to learn, like, create the mentality to be able to succeed there as well. It's just bad administration. A lot of the problems. I suspect though, and I definitely mentioned this last time Minute was on. The more money that comes into franchise cricket, and the more organised franchise cricket becomes, it will become much more like European football clubs, where they are so reliant on areas of the world that produce talent that they'll go invest in players younger and younger and younger, and create pathways so that the players reach their ceiling much quicker, and more players get to that level than is currently happening. I think the current system inhibits that, because they only ever need 5 good opening batters across all their 3 formats, so they don't really care about the 8th, 9th, or 10th best opening batter. They might care to a degree about the 6th and 7th, but then you go further down the line, there's no real reason to nurture the rest, where actually competition will push everyone on. That's just my thoughts. I don't know if Anton and Madushka have thoughts about that.
No, I think you guys are pretty spot on with that. I would love for, maybe they have done it in the past, I'm not sure, but I would love for the administrators of Sri Lanka to go to a place like New Zealand and find out, how they do it, because, having had the privilege to work there for, 4 seasons, 4 years or so, in my honest opinion, I think they get it spot on for the way they set up, looking after their players, but also giving their players the best chance to perform for a long period of time. I think you guys mentioned it's like, these guys will come from playing tons and tons of cricket on a Bloomfield outfield, or it's some of those. What are the other clubs around Colombo there? But then all of a sudden, you fly them to a different country. They've got to go score 100 or score some runs against someone, against the likes of Cummins and those guys in Australia. Like if I was in charge of Sri Lanka, like, the massive emphasis would be placed on my under 19s and 18 program, and I would make sure that is the best educational pipeline, not just for a player, but for a human being as well. So surrounding them with educational tools around how to build a career. What am I going to do after my career? Set up the guy holistically around creating a nice, calm environment around himself, so that when he goes into these areas of high performance and high pressure, that actually he's got his stuff sorted out behind the scenes, and you'll see a lot more calmer performance and a calmer person coming to the stage, But unfortunately, with the advent of T20 cricket, everyone's chasing the dollar, everyone wants the glitz and the glam. So I think the players are bypassing that stage, and a lot of these analysts from these big IPL teams and big franchises around the world, they are now going to dig into places like Sri Lanka, like Nepal, and all these places where they go and find these youngsters and completely actually get groomed outside of your own country. So it's an interesting time to be involved as a player, but also as an administrator and as a coach of how you manage these players. But I think from making sure that the players are looked after properly, not just financially, but education and upbringing, and how to deal with different things in life, I think that can go a long way for players in Sri Lanka, a massive way. And obviously, in order to do that, you need savvy coaches, you need savvy administrators to work with those young kids coming through and making sure that they are looked after, right? And I think that is where, if anything, the system needs to be jacked up a little bit.
Sri, I'm gonna let you go. Oh, go on.
Oh no, I was just about to say, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I remember a couple of years ago, maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Lovely seeing you all. Cheers.
Thanks for coming on. Hopefully, get you on again another time. I'll bring Kai, but we'll come to you in a moment, Kai.
Yeah.
And Mark.
It was, I think, 2015. I think Siddharth Vettamani had just come in, or he was just leaving as part of yet another interim committee, and I had the chance to actually speak to him for a fairly in-depth interview. And one of the things he had put in place during his interim committee was getting these guys media training, etiquette training, all these little things that would help. And he spoke to me about how when he had been a player, right, like a big part of the intimidation factor was going on tour to England and not knowing how to eat with a fork and knife. Right? So it all plays in your head, where you start to feel kind of inferior when you go on tours, when you play against, like Anton said, like these bigger made 19-year-olds or bigger made, where they're quicker, they're bowling faster, it's scarier. And that all plays into it. And it's again about getting that confidence, right? So if you can, it's no surprise that a lot of the guys that have made the step up from the under 19 level and the youth level to the Sri Lanka team are all former captains. Like if you look at it, just a majority, Charita Salanka, Kusal Mendes, Dunit Velalage, Kamilu Mendes, like they're all former captains, right? Yeah. So obviously those guys have had some sort of innate confidence within themselves, which is why they were made captain. But for some of the other guys, you can see it in their press conferences. You can see how timid they are when they're answering. There's no real. They're not given the license or the agency to talk about the game. What did they think happened? And you see that so much. It was fascinating going to some of these press briefings during the World Cup of some of the associate guys, because for those guys, they don't have much of an opportunity to say something. So when they do get in front of the mic, they have no filter. So just even today, Mark Adair was just talking about how he was pissed off that people keep referring to Ireland as an associate nation, right? And how that's something that's a driving force for them. And I would love to see a Sri Lankan guy just come out and just talk about how frustrating it is that the fans don't seem to notice, or that people don't seem to understand that we are a good team, but sometimes good teams have bad days. And just have and just analyze the game a little bit. But they just don't do it, whether it's in speaking in English or Sinhala. They just don't do it. And I think it would be wonderful if you could create a generation of cricketers who are given that sort of license to be confident in themselves. And that'll just permeate right through into the game.
Can I just add one thing to that as well, though, is I'm always trying to contact SLC and be like, can we speak to any players? There's a series happening. Can we speak to whoever the captain is for whichever format ahead of their series against England and stuff like that? And I just point blank get refused no. And maybe it's because they just don't think Murali End's important enough. That's fine. But the impression I get, the reason I think I assume the reason is because they just don't want their people to speak. They don't realise that the Sri Lankan national cricket team, yes, is the cricket team that represents the island, but it's also a professional sports side that exists to put bums in seats and to be crude about it, to make money as well. The way you do that is you go out and you create stories, you have narratives, because I find so much of the narrative around the Sri Lanka side is essentially created by the people who write like you, Manishka, the people who write about them for the big websites, the people like Edith who have big platforms to go and talk about. It's very little of it, as far from what I can see, actually ever gets created by from SLC. Some people say, well, that's how good journalism is meant to work, but they need to market their product to a degree. They need buy-in from the public. We all know. You can't just put 11 blokes together and expect them to go win a World Cup. It takes work. They got to work on it. So if you're going on a journey to win a tournament with them, you want to get the buy-in from the rest of the fans, the people who love them as well. I think part of the reason why social media Sri Lanka fans go a bit overboard when we aren't winning is because it's kind of like a love-hate relationship, because it's almost like SLC like gaslight you in a way. You never get anything from them, and then they want you to turn up to their games, right? Where they need to, every other professional sports team in the world tries to kind of nurture its fans a little bit and gets them all going beyond the selection video for a World Cup. Like, show us a little bit behind the scenes stuff. There's so many great stories around Sri Lanka cricket that go totally untold. Anyway, Kai, thanks for joining us today. How are you feeling after the game?
Good, slightly concerned, because I think even though it was a very strong win, there's still definitely issues there. And this is not a very strong Australia side. They did get hammered by Zimbabwe. They got destroyed by Pakistan before 3-0. They clearly, bar Head and Marsh, don't really know how to play spin particularly well. I know Tim David's definitely improved his playing over spin over the last few years, but he looked a little bit all at sea today. And Cameron Green is just a terrible spin. He doesn't know which way's which when he's playing the turning ball. And we saw that with his dismissal. So obviously, I thought we bowled okay actually at the start. Hemanta overpitched and took tap, but Deekshana generally bowled well. I remember there was a loose ball in his first over, which was wide outside off stump, and then Shamira dropped short a couple of times, but they didn't really do a whole lot wrong to get battered. It was more so that it was just very good batting, right? Two guys are very big, they can get over the ball, and because of their height and size, they've got big swings. And I think big thing showed today is how, I don't know if we've spoken about this before, but biomechanics when it comes to batting as well as bowling, right? I think that's important, and I think that it really showed today, right? Who are the guys who have strong bat swings and clear arcs and also movements, right? So you saw it from Travis Head and Mitch Marsh, especially Mitch Marsh, right? Long levers, and has got a lovely bat lift, so he can pick up the ball, and he's a quality player of pace, of seam and spin, and especially when it comes short, because of those long levers, he's just able to get under it and really just pummel anything which is a touch short. And we also saw it from Nissanka and Kusal Mendes, and those two different players, right? Very different players, but the key, I think, especially with Nissanka, we always talk about how he's technically correct, but we don't talk about how and why he's technically correct. Because if you think about Nissanka, his stature helps him. He's quite short, which means he's got that very stable base, right? So it's about where his kinetic store of energy is and how he moves that, and he's very good at using that, right? We saw it. He got back to Cooper Connolly when he cut him right off the stumps. That's because of his kinetic store, kinetic base, where he stores energy and how he moves his feet to play there, and it also gives him a lot of stability. And the other thing with him from a biomechanical perspective is his bat lift. His bat lift is very, very good because he's got it about second slip. It's nice and high, and it gives him a long swing of the bat. And then on the other end of that, you got Kusal Mendes, different player, right? His strength is getting his energy, so he's back in deep in the crease and then swing through. So you're two different players, but you really saw how technically correct batting and high quality biomechanical batting, which is something which is almost never highlighted, was so important today, and the players who batted really well.
Man who knows his stuff. Well done, Kai.
Yeah, that was a great breakdown, Kai.
Kai, I have one question for you. What do you think of Pathum Nissanka's biomechanics? Because his stance is slightly unorthodox. I love it though.
Yeah, I think with Pathum Nissanka, he's got a stall. I think his feet are, I'm trying to think about it, slightly close to cover, and also his bat swing is slightly different. I think his trigger movement is important with Pathum Nissanka because his trigger for him is like much more down the wicket. He starts his stance very side on almost, and his bat starts planted next to his right foot, if I'm right. And he starts side on. I don't necessarily get a great look at it because the camera's always switched to the bowler, but his trigger movement, I think, is moving, so he's almost a little bit straighter on. And it's good. He's clearly got very strong triggers, and that's good because it means he's moving. Once your body's moving, your kinetic energy is almost like you're going. Once you've got kinetic energy going, and it helps you move much more cleanly, and that's why he's so strong. That trigger movement makes him so strong coming down the wicket because he's already, as soon as he started moving from that trigger point, he's down the wicket and he's able to like get a clean strike. The only thing with him is maybe his bat swing is not like as perfect as like a Nissanka, but like that's something to be worked on, right? But it's still high quality bat swing. I'm not gonna lever into it, but I think that if that was an area I was thinking about him working on, it's probably that.
Yeah,
I quite just to jump on the technical stuff. One thing it reminded me today with Pathum is, obviously he's quite small in stature, so there's a lot of talk these days around power hitting, and you need to have the power to clear the fence and that sort of stuff. But there's various ways of doing that, right? So I'll never forget when I was coaching Otago back in 2016, I think it was. We played a game against Central Districts, and their overseas captain was Mahela Jayawardena. And he came in, and we were playing this game at Pukakura Park, small ground in New Plymouth. And we had these tall, fast bowlers who were hitting the deck hard, trying to bump guys out. And that seemed to work. That was our method of getting guys out. And here comes a guy, Mahela. And I think, he won them the game that day. He made like a 80 or 90 odd off 70 balls or something stupid. But every shot he played was, a ramp over the keeper, getting inside the line, helping it over fine leg for a 6. And then what it forces bowlers to do is all of a sudden these tall, big, muscly guys have to now try and get the ball a little bit fuller. Their natural action doesn't quite allow them to bowl with the same sort of zip and energy to get the ball fuller. And what happens is you bowl into the guy's arc and he hits you down the ground. And I think we saw a lot of that today from Pathum. Pathum used the pace of the wicket to his advantage. He used the natural length that the Aussies were trying to hit, the back of the length. He got on top of those balls very easily. Same with Kusal. And then what you saw is the guys tried to go a little bit fuller, and they couldn't quite execute that fuller length that they wanted to. And as soon as they went that fuller length, Pathum and Kusal was hitting the ball beautifully down the ground. And we sort of, once that starts happening, bowlers, it's very tough for bowlers to then set fields. Guys were bowling with third man and fine leg up, but was still trying to hit back of the length, and guys were just cutting and laying them off for fun, So I think there was a lot of smarts being shown today by guys like Pathum and Kusal. And that can only be a positive, and it reminded me of that game that I've watched and witnessed Mahela firsthand just dissect these tall bowlers and literally bring them down to his size, because there's plenty of ways to clear the fence and to reach the fence, and you don't just need power to do it.
And that's all about your triggers, that you're talking about, like getting inside the line and kind of playing those ramp shots, especially against extra bounce bowlers. You've got to change up your triggers, right? So I know we spoke about Pathum, right? If I had one concern about Pathum is how would he play the short ball, because his trigger, he seems to have a very clear single trigger. The key trigger when you're playing fast short bowling is coming back and across, right? You want to give yourself that extra second, because it's one of those things. It's funny, right? It always feels like we've all batted before, right? We all know that the short ball feels like the quickest one, but it comes to you the slowest. The ball loses all its kinetic energy once it hits deck, and from there on it's slowing down. So it actually comes to you the slowest. And so that back and across movement and having that clarity of mind. So once you have that trigger, which is back and across, and you need to be able to change, right? So for the short bowling, you do that trigger, and then you give yourself the time almost, and it's about not rushing it, because you actually have the most time with the short ball. So a lot of it's clarity of mind and your trigger movement for that, and then you then need to be able to change again, right? Once the ball's fuller, then you're on the front foot, you're driving, you're looking to play flicks, and then your kind of wrists come into play, your wrists work. And also the other thing is how I don't know how many batsmen do this because I don't speak to many professional batsmen, but I don't know how batsmen change their bat lift depending on the bowling they face, because we speak about the best players of the short ball like Virat Kohli and Ricky Ponting. They're both short bat lifts, reducing the time they need. They know that they don't need to produce a lot of pace off the bat, right? They just need to help the ball on its way, and they give themselves more time almost because the movement's smaller, right? It's just rather than a whole bat swing. So I'd be interested into seeing how batters change their bat lift depending on the bowling they face as well.
I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Anton, about backlift and batters from your work.
Look, the one thing I'll say without getting lost in the technical jargon and all that sort of stuff is each batter is different, right? So we spoke about a guy like Pathum Nissanka who starts in a unorthodox manner. But if you had to slow all these things down at the point of contact, you'll probably find that these guys get back to hitting the ball with a straight face of the bat and being nice and balanced when all that contact takes place. So for me, you've got to coach around the individual. What sort of movements comes naturally towards him, and then coach him for moving forward from that base. But you can't go with your one strategy around this is the way to bat and try and copy paste that to each batter. You need to work with each batter individually. Get to know what makes them tick, how they move, what sort of areas are they strong at, what sort of areas are they weak at, and create a game plan around that. And I think that's the beauty of the game and the beauty of working around the world, that I've seen that every single guy is different. Every place, every culture has a different method of scoring runs. But at the end of the day, it's all about, for me, from a batting perspective, it's are you aligned? Are you in balance, and do you have the right rhythm on the day to hit the ball down the ground? And if you can start from that point, you can add in all the other shots that you like.
Anton, I think you need to leave now, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you for joining us. It's been a bit of a mammoth show. Kai Madushka, do you need to go as well? I'll let you go as well. Thanks for joining us. Manura, thank you for coming on. How do you feel about today's win?
Yeah, I feel like I'm so happy, and also happy to meet Udit, one of my coaches. Yeah, yeah. And you can hear me, right? Like properly? Yeah. I was having some connection issues that I had to pull over and come back again. So it's been a.
Oh, right? Did you? I was like cricket coaching or like life coaching, or where did you coach with him?
You go ahead.
He was at uni where I used to work, cool. And I used to coach the team that in my spare time. So I've coached.
So he coached me to become a like off spinner, and I ended up being in left arm fast bowler. And now I'm playing for the domestic here in Canada as a fast bowler.
Oh, wicked!
Yeah.
What team do you play for in Canada? What kind of?
So it's sort of I just moved in here for like 2 years back. So still this year I'm gonna play for one of the premier clubs in here. So yeah, it's called Centurion.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll keep an eye out. Because I know there's a couple of other guys who listen from Finland, and they've been watching and listening for a few years now. And they're in the squad, like the national team. I don't like in Finland. I like, and I was gonna say that guy who plays for Italy.
Yeah.
But I think he actually went to Italy like a long time ago, didn't he? He's like proper.
There are lots of Sri Lankans out here playing cricket. Like only the reason for Canada being not as a like country that is performing well. The thing is, they don't have time. They have we have like 5 to 6 months of winter out here. So they do indoor practices and they don't have that exposure out there. They have to go for other countries to do the practice and everything. So in that case, you don't have that agility to like come up to that level, right? So
Yeah.
in terms of today's match, I'm so happy the way Pathum was batting, and it was nice to listen to Kyle and Anton what they have input. I want to say about the use of feet as well, and then look, Pathum, Pawan, and Kusal. What is the difference between those three batters and all the other batters that Sri Lanka have? Well, we can put Kamidu into that bunch as well. So these guys use the feet. They go back and front here and there. Then let's say if you're a fast bowler, it's so hard. If you're bowling for you practice in the net for you do spot bowling and bowling at the good length deliveries, and the batter goes back and it'll be a short delivery, right? So it's sort of nice. These four batters are using the feet, and that is the main, I think, main part of the success out there. I'm not telling that other technical matters. I'm not I don't know about those things, but still, that's what what I can see as a fan's perspective. And as fans, I do have to give this message to all the fans out here. We have to be constructive. If you want to criticize these guys, so this is the wonderful bunch, talented. They have lots of potential. They have that kind of fighting skills. So this is the best team we have ever had in after lots of years. We still wait, and my prediction is still there. I was telling you that if we play a 6-5 combo, we'll definitely go to the semis, and it's still there. So 7-4, it won't be working, not at all.
I know you came on to talk about the batting, but I think the two things are the 6-5 saved us today when Pathurana got injured.
Pathurana, yeah.
We had something else to go to, and the other person, the most underrated performance today was Kamindu's overs. It will be totally forgotten in time, right? But actually, he comes in, he gets wickets. He hasn't bowled If I'm going to be honest, I just don't think Sri Lanka, the brain centre around the team at the moment, really know what to do with him, which is why that he was out the side for a bit. They don't understand, kind of, in my opinion, what kind of talent he is. Because I think if you every single team that turns up for this World Cup has talented players. The difference between the team that's going to win and the team that finishes last is culture and standards within it. Mindu Mendes has consistently, the fact he's learned to bowl with both hands just shows you what kind of person he is, right? He burst into the scene as when he was 17, 18, he goes viral because he's ambidextrous, but actually he's a batter, right? This guy will go out and learn new skills. We see now people are like he should bat in the top 4 or 5. Then they have a go with him as kind of finishing off the game as a finisher. It kind of works, kind of doesn't work. He's sussing it out, but obviously they drop him because it's SLC and some of the decisions aren't consistent and don't make sense. And then they bring him back in, a week ago, 10 days ago, and he's been absolutely sensational this tournament with bat and with ball. He's just incredible, isn't he, Edith?
I think there is an issue in Sri Lankan cricket. I'm just going to give you an example, my personal experience. Last weekend, I played a Division 3 game, and this club has Division 2 school cricketers, all are 16, 17, 18, very young, very, very young boys. So I just had my first outing last weekend. And you know how the impact the coach has on them? They don't do a field change. The coach has set the field. No field change. Bowling changes happen on how the coach tells them to do, right? And I watched this for about 5-6 overs, and I'm like, shit is not working. And I usually let them, they're young kids, let them do what they have to do. And then, when I started changing the field, they were asking me, is sir okay with that? Right? So we've got this problem in Sri Lankan cricket. When Anton brought up the age grade cricket issue, we are not letting them think on the ground, right? When we used to play this game, we go into the ground, we make decisions, we fail, we come back in the dressing room, we get a earful, done, and we learn. But what happens right now in school cricket in Sri Lanka as well, majority of the time, it's the coach who has set the plan. This is what's going to happen, and he'll keep barking orders from outside the boundary line. Do this, do that. Don't go, go 3/4 away. No, come inside the circle. This is not the field you're supposed to bowl. You're supposed to bowl this field, right? We're not making thinking cricketers. And I think the same thing is happening here in the national setup as well. We've got set plans, and we're executing them. And we're not sensing the game, and we're not changing according to what the game is going, because we are worried, right? And that's why Kamindu Mendis doesn't get an opportunity to actually come and bowl a bit more. And that's why you always, today Dasun Chanaka shouldn't have bowled the second over, right? He shouldn't have. So these decision making, it's a problem even at age grade cricket, right? People outside the boundary should stop getting involved with what happens inside the boundary. Let kids learn how to bowl. Let kids understand the game, make the decisions, get them wrong. You can sort them out after the game is over if there are mistakes made. So these are problems that we have. And that's why I keep saying, we have so much of problems. 10 years back when I used to play Division 3 cricket with almost the same age guys, it was different. They used to think of the cricket. They knew what to do on the field. And it has just changed completely. And it's sad to see. And that's what I keep saying. The system is so crap. The system is so broken, and we're still producing players, right? It's amazing that we're doing it.
Could I just add one thing to that as well, though? I think that's not just in cricket in Sri Lanka. That's kind of with everything. It's so almost like respect-based, but to the point of it kind of neuters people's own ability to make decisions, or they get scared to make decisions. And I see that a lot. I don't really like to comment too much on things in Sri Lanka that aren't about cricket, because I don't feel like I don't live there, so what's to do with. But I do think every other aspect of Sri Lanka society would be a little bit better if people felt more empowered to make decisions. Like, if you make a mistake, it's fine. Like, it's all right if you lose. If those 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds lose a cricket match, it's not the end of the world. Like, you'll only ever improve from losses, right? Guys, we've been going for nearly 2 hours. Should we wrap it up there? Because we're through to the Super 8s, so we've got a lot more of these post-match shows to come. Let's not waste everything we've got to say at the end after a big win. Sri Lanka on the road to Ahmedabad now. You better get your visa applications in if you want to get to Ahmedabad and support the boys. Because it doesn't matter where you're from or what passport you have. Unless you've got an Indian passport, it takes about 2 weeks to get an Indian visa. So you're warned. Right. Manura, thanks for joining us. Kai, thanks for joining us. Edith, thanks for joining us today. If you guys can stay on, so once it ends, I can get your local records. We'll be in the Murali End. Hit the subscribe if you haven't done so already. Tell all your friends and family about it. If you want to watch back, please do. Leave your comments, and I'll put this up as a podcast in a few hours' time. I'll see you all later. What a day for Sri Lanka. What a day to be Pathum Nissanka. See you all soon.
It's the Murali End, you're the place to be. Analyze the players and the team. Keep a great company in the stream.
It's a Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high. We're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we, when mad it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we gon' represent. So tell a friend.